and day number 2, I was
Done.
gone. Yeah, and I'm still struggling. Like my chest feels like real heavy, and I feel bad. So my 2 best friends had to spend the day in New York City together without me, celebrating my birthday, and then they had to quarantine, which is so like 2021.
Right.
From me, but they didn't get sick, thank God, because this was really contagious.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. So
Well, misery.
Well, we just went live mid that story, Stacey, and I'm sure that as the audience is showing up, there's an outpouring of support, and glad that you're feeling better, and you look great. You don't look like you feel
thanks.
bad at all.
It's makeup. It's makeup.
No. I could use something to take this shine off of my face.
We like your glow.
I'm glowing. I'm in a hotel. Marriott Wi-Fi is spotty. So I am keeping Seth. Seth Barger, go ahead and say hello this morning to Seth. Seth, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's a brisk 31 degrees here in North Carolina, but it's sunny, so I'm happy.
It's like 60 down here in Houston, where I am at the moment. So it was wonderful. Walked outside. My wife texted me. She's like, it snowed yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I went for a jog in my shorts. I don't know. Seth, just take a quick moment to introduce yourself. You are a guest host with us today. And I'd love to have you, take 30 seconds to tell the audience who you are, give them a little context.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. My name is Seth Farger. I live just north of Charlotte, North Carolina, and I specialize in marketing for the construction industry, emphasis on imagery. So my company is called Construction Video Pros, and we focus on photo, video, and web design to help really bolster the image, build authority for companies in the construction space, and work with a lot of different industries within that: site work, paving, roadways, concrete, you name it. I'm working on a lumber mill right now, which is fun, hardwoods, and really just helping people elevate their imagery and their content game to make sure that under no circumstances does someone ever search for you online and get the wrong impression about you because they found a website that's a decade old or something to that nature.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. Good rundown. Yeah, we're glad to have you. And I particularly am glad to have you today. So some people might be watching and say, wait a minute, co-host? I thought Stacey was the co-host. Well, normally Stacey is the co-host. But in preparation for this, show, with Stacey and I were talking about, we really wanted to get a show out there about marketing. I couldn't help but just say, I can't think of anybody I'd rather have talk about marketing in the building industry than you. And so Stacey is our guest today. And so Stacey pulled her friend, and roundabout, Stacey didn't know, Seth, that you and I knew one another, which was kind of cool, but pulled in a friend of ours to be a co-host. And Seth, you may have bit off way more than you can chew, because I might drop out with my Wi-Fi today and you might be the host. So we have no idea how this is going to go.
I'm okay with that. I guess the best way to learn is be thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, this is one way to do it. Yeah, this is one way to do it. All right, cool. So just a reminder to our audience before we get rolling that we take questions throughout. We get to them at the end. So we're not going to be responding to comments midstream. We all need to focus, on being in the show. But please don't let that keep you from sending your questions and comments throughout, creating a conversation amongst you. I think that's fantastic and something that, I want to make sure we're doing here on LinkedIn Live. So today's guest, that's right, guest, is Stacey Holsinger. Stacey with Steel Toe Communications. Stacey and I are obviously close. And when she's not working on the morning huddle, she is working on her business, which is Steel Toe Communications. Stacey, take just a couple of minutes and tell us about Steel Toe Communications. Give us some context for the conversation we're having today.
Sure. So I work with small and mid-sized contractors to help them compete with the larger, contractors. I work with email, video. I'll do basically any content. So if we're talking about job descriptions, stories, script for your video, social media, anything like that, marketing wise, to help your company stand out, to help with the workforce of recruiting issue that we have going on, that kind of thing.
So, do you help with the whole content strategy, or are you just
I
kind of an
do.
extra set of hands for getting things? Okay, you do.
Yes, marketing strategy is really important. You want to start with a budget and determine, if you're a I usually work with like a local contractor. Um, Determine what kind of marketing initiatives you can participate in locally, and really determine there's so many things you can do with marketing, right? So we want to really determine, where we want to spend our time and our space based on your budget. And that goes out through a yearly marketing strategy that you can measure your goals. And then after you measure them the next year, we tweak it depending on, what ROI we hit and things like that.
So, great. That gives us, I think, good context for what you're doing in that small to mid-sized contractor range. Um, um, so, before we get started into I guess the meat of our questions today, I kind of want to address a little bit of an elephant in the room, which is uh, I see a huge lack of focus on marketing or interest in marketing from the commercial building industry in general. And I know this is something you and I have talked about, in the past. It's one thing in the residential building industry, they get it, they understand that like
Mhm.
I have to create leads, I need to do right, and they may even do some more traditional marketing, advertising buys, radio, and things along those lines to get people to visit them and schedule an appointment, if you will, make that phone call. But in the B2B the commercial building industry, which is the community that I serve, the community that you serve,
Mhm.
that market doesn't respond as well to the need for marketing. And you're really close to this. What percentage of commercial building contractors do you even see embrace, getting the concept of marketing and embracing
Right.
the need for marketing in their business?
So it's pretty low, but I will say over the last 10 years, I've seen significant improvements with commercial contractors getting on board with marketing, knowing that there is value in it. So I've seen a need for hiring, marketing coordinators or outsourcing. But with that, there also comes some problems because there has been so many years where they haven't been educated on marketing or the value that it could provide their company. Um, so we run into a couple of problems. So one of the problems is they don't know they'll go with a marketing company that has no experience in commercial construction whatsoever. And that's a huge problem because these marketing companies that don't know commercial construction pick imagery and video that could have safety issues,
Mm.
that could really damage your reputation. They're not filtering all of these images and the content through your safety director. They don't think of that kind of thing. They use iStock images. I had a client that hired a marketing agency that was not experienced at all in the construction industry, and they literally just took iStock images from a country in Asia, and all of those people did not represent their workforce in the United States, which is hysterical. But it's just things like that that if you're not in the industry, you're not thinking about the safety gear, like all that kind of stuff. So you have to be really, really careful when you're choosing a marketing agency. I would definitely ask, like, have you worked in commercial construction or even residential? Get those examples. If not, the best second scenario would be to hire someone in-house and train them. Either if you want to start entry level, just make sure that you invest in their education. You're getting them out to events. You're getting them to conferences. You're including them in your strategic planning so they really understand the construction industry, because having a marketing degree is really important, but they need to understand the construction industry. It has to be equally met. Or you just hire someone with 15 years of experience or so that has, you don't have to run into all those problems because they have already learned all those lessons. So
So
that's where you get that value.
So fundamentally, there's a resistance to invest that you're saying you've actually seen some improvements, and that's good to hear. Um, any sense for why the commercial building industry is starting to come around to the importance of investing in marketing?
I think it's a generational thing. The more that I talk to, so this is just a theory I have, but talking to a lot of my clients and a lot of the younger generations that grow up on like social media and everything, they come to me because they're like, "Can you please convince my dad who owns the company, or my uncle or whoever, that we have to get on social media? They don't see the value and they grew up on it." So what I'm thinking is the next well, I already see this with some of my competitors and everything. So within the next like 5 to 7 years, these kids are now going to take over the company, and they want their, company to be visual on social media. I mean, and it's easy for them. They know how to do video. They know how to, take pictures. All of that. So they find that really, really important. So if their parents didn't, they're going to. So it's just going to be more and more flooded. Social media is not going anywhere. LinkedIn's been around for 20 years. So you
Yeah.
have to be part of the conversation. The conversation's not just at networking events anymore. It's very much a digital landscape now, and you have to be part of, that real estate.
I could not agree with you more. But I think there, Seth, the three of us were having a conversation before we got rolling, amidst my panic about making sure that I could get a connection. But we were having a conversation, where these commercial contractors tend to put marketing and business development and just all like things into one bucket, and they either buy into that concept or they don't. In other words, right? They're either like, look, I'm just low bid. Everybody in the town in town knows me. They send me stuff. If I can get low, I win the work. If I can't get low, I don't win the work. It's silly for me to spend money on marketing. Or they are coming from they get it mindset where they're like, look, the not everybody that I'm doing business is going to be the same people. There are new young people entering the industry that don't know me. I do need to make sure that my brand is in front of those folks. There are out of town general contractors that do Google and are going to search, best, electrical contractors in Houston, right?
Mhm.
And I need to be able to show up. And possibly more importantly, and I wonder what your take is on this, possibly more importantly than anything right now, is that you're crazy if you don't think that a potential candidate who's interviewing for your company and your competitor isn't developing some perception of who you are versus who they are by checking out your web presence. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that's where another marketing strategy to consider in 2022 would be to concentrate on your Google reviews and get those kicked up a notch. Because when people are looking for, you have an electrical engineer and you have the pick of the litter, to be honest. So you can pretty much go to any company right now,
Right.
and so you are doing your research about the companies that you want to work for. So you're going to be visiting their websites. You're going to look at their Google reviews to see what people are saying. What's it like to work there? People also check out glassdoor.com, and they make an opinion whether or not they want to work for your company based on what they see online. So it's very important to have some type of digital or they'll check out your social media pages and see, how people are talking and having conversations on your company pages and make a decision about you there, whether or not they want to apply to work for your company. It's super competitive right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll be honest. I am I love the old school, a lot of the old school aspects of the building industry. The you know the heroicism of hard work,
Hmm.
and the kind of doing whatever it takes to get the job done, and all those types of things. I love a lot of those old school aspects. Some of the old school things are not helping them. Right? It's not helping the industry. And one of those old school things being like, internet, what do I need to do, with the internet? And that's really, I think, risky,
It
as
is
we've just
super risky.
established.
Yeah.
So here's a question. In an environment where we're all just inundated with, we're swamped with marketing and emails, and messages all the time.
Hmm.
Uh, what are some of the things that construction companies can do to stand out so they don't just blend into the noise?
Yeah. I think another strategy you want to think about in 2022 is personalization. And that means, segmenting your emails, whether who are you talking to? Architects, engineers, subcontractors, vendors, suppliers, making sure you personalize things. You get to know people a bit better relationship wise. And that could even be with holiday gift giving. Like, stop doing the same thing that you always used to do and take more time to make things a little bit more personable and memorable. Um, with email, the other thing that I want you to consider is, so the construction industry has a reputation of egocentric marketing, right? So we have a history of saying, I'm the best because I have top quality. Safety's number one. We're saying the same stuff all across the board. So um, if you look at other industries, they years ago, more so now after COVID, but years ago, they took a customer centric approach where they're not talking about how good that they are. They're trying to answer customers' questions. So the most common questions customers, how do you solve their problems? That's what you want to talk about. Even in your newsletters, any marketing that you make, it should be educational, informative, or inspiring. If it's all three of those things, like, chances are you're going to get a great response. But if you can just hit one of those things, that's what your audience is looking for. So consider that. Connect it with personalization and stay away from the egocentric marketing.
So those 3 points again, Stacey, what were they? Those 3 things you said: educational, I forgot.
Oh, sure. So you want to make sure your marketing, always question this when whether you're writing a piece, you're doing a video, you're working on your website. Is my website informative? Did I learn something from the website? Was it entertaining? Did I get to watch a cool video, or was it inspiring? Did you share a brand story that I'm like, oh, I remember this company, that kind of thing.
Cool. Educational, informative, inspiring, and if you can
Mhm.
hit all 3, that's, all the better.
Mhm.
I love that. Um, let's talk a little bit about more about email marketing. Um, how is it, is it dead? Is it something that we should invest in? Should we shift all of our attention to social, or how much would you be investing in email marketing, and how do I make sure I do that right? Aside from just, I got the shift from customer centric. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
from egocentric to customer centric.
So email marketing is definitely not dead, definitely not in our industry. In my personal experience, when we did send out email marketing campaigns and they were pretty personalized, we had some heavy hitters respond to us. So one example, when I worked with Shapiro and Duncan and we did our Fab Shop tour video, And that's another thing I'd love to talk to you about is
Yeah.
strategy behind that. So we created the video and then we also sent it out through an email marketing campaign. And we've had, some people respond saying, oh my God, I didn't know all the benefits of your fab shop. And these are people that we were trying to get out for meetings to come tour the fab shop. I didn't, realize how organized, how your lean practices, like all that kind of stuff. So it was really great feedback to have. And, that one video, we can send that to everybody and we don't have to pull people in to come out to visit our fab shop because that was our strategy for all those years before. Like, granted, it's always great to get someone in person, but if you can't do that, you know, video and sending that out through email is a great way. And people are always on their email, project managers and stuff. So we know that it works.
So it's just making sure, if I've got you right, it's making sure that the email is designed to focus on things that the customer cares about instead
Mhm.
of focusing on how great you are
Correct.
necessarily. And then maybe a second strategy would be utilizing different, I guess, tools in email so that it's not just maybe the same old sort of stock newsletter style template, but that you're putting other things in there like video so that it sticks out.
Yes, and making it more conversational. Like you don't want it to sound so stuffy. So if you look at other newsletters and other industries, and that's the other thing, look outside of construction, um, to see what other great industries are doing to pull people and especially the tech industries that are attracting all these candidates. They're very conversational when they're talking to their audience, like buddy buddy. So, and you can still be professional. You can still come across professional, but be more conversational in your language.
All right. I do want to talk a little bit about the power of video because I know this is something that's just wholly underutilized, in the building industry. And I'll tell you that when I do come across that time elapse video of the awesome project coming up, I'm scrolling through LinkedIn. I'm watching that. If I see the just random post that says such and such was just awarded XYZ project and here's the renderings, I may or may not stop by that one. But I noticed that just in my own habits, it's just cool. Video is cool when it's done right.
Mhm.
So talk about video strategies and Seth, I might I think this would be good to pull you in at some point as well. But Stacey, you take the lead and get us started.
Yeah, I think when you're thinking about video strategy, one of the biggest mistakes that contractors make is they pay for this $7,000 to $10,000 professional video. That's beautiful. It's simplified the message. It comes across well, but it doesn't get large reach. And the reason for that is you didn't have a strategy to back it up. So what I would recommend is asking your videographer to create some teaser clips of the video and you post them through email marketing and also on social media over, a couple months or so, or just the first month every week. And then you invite your top clients to come in and watch your video, whether that's a virtual, Zoom thing, or you invite them to the office and pay for a lunch or dinner and, have them that way. And then depending on what it is, you can have another series where you invite your employees in to watch the video. And then you want to release the full video, make it public on YouTube to your audience in an email campaign. And what that does, it builds momentum for your video. So over a 2-month period, there's buzz. People are starting to talk about it and they're most likely going to start sharing it. So you
So
don't want to
there's
just
the
post
there's
it
the
once.
investment. Sorry, there's the
Yeah.
investment that you're making in building the video, which
Mhm.
is time intensive, reasonably heavy costs, right, associated with that. What you're saying is make sure you have an awesome strategy to get the most mileage out of that investment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
what's
love it.
great about
Seth, oh,
video
sorry, please.
What's great about video too is, you know, a lot of contractors always want to know the ROI and all this stuff. You can see the views. It's all measurable to see if it paid off for you. And the other good point is too, you have to make sure that all the video that you're creating, you add captions, and you can use rev.com. They'll do it for you in like 24 hours. And the reason for that being is most 85% of people watch video without sound because they're in a public place and they still want to watch your video, but they need to read about it. So make sure that all your videos have captions.
Cool. Yeah, very good. Seth, anything that you would add from a video standpoint? And I want to make sure we get to some audience questions too.
Yeah, two quick things. 100% on the strategy. Had a client recently that I'd worked with that part of what they wanted, I built a website, shot a ton of content, and they wanted video, and they wanted 3 videos. We developed the videos, and I've given them the content, but there wasn't any plan or a lot of thought put into how they wanted to get those out. And so I've been walking them through, did some teasers to get people excited, generate some buzz, but let's send them out to your employees, because we want to send it to them and link them to maybe the social videos where they can hit share, because like, wow, there's me in the company video, I'm going to share that to all my friends. And then the YouTube ones, obviously they live longer than a social media one typically does, because YouTube's going to ramp up, whereas Facebook and Instagram is going to ramp down. So just thinking through a strategy and how you're going to use those videos. Love what Stacey said about getting people in, being proactive. Video is a tool. Video is not just, hey, throw it out there and see what it does. Use it outbound as an outbound marketing piece. And the other thing is, I would just say video gives you the ability to control the narrative. You get to control what people perceive about you by creating a script. So I'm working with a company right now we're talking to that has seeding in the title. You'd think that they do grass seeding or landscaping and stuff. And though that's how they started, that's not primarily what they do now, but it's part of their brand. So they get people forming wrong perceptions all the time, like, oh, they're a landscape company, I don't need grass seeding, when in fact, they offer a whole host of other services. Video gives you the opportunity to say, hey, this is who we are, and this is what we do. And then emphasize that by continually showing and telling them examples of what they do. So by the time they finish that video, they don't have a wrong impression about you. And you get to control what they believe and what they see about you by creating the video and telling the story how you want to.
Oh, can you also share your capabilities type? Remember you say clients hand you like a capability sheet, but we couldn't measure that. So how important video was.
Oh, so a lot of times I'll work with people that don't have a website, they don't have a video, they don't have any sort of digital content in this age. They're still sending out, if someone asks, a developer says, who are you doing? They send out a Word document that has letterhead, a paragraph of who they are, and a bullet sheet, a bullet list of, we do asphalt paving, we do site work, and we do concrete work. And that's it. That's what they're sending to people. And there's no way to effectually, it's not exciting, it's not sexy, it's not engaging, but there's no way to measure the reach or the impact that is having to potential people. You're just sending out a Word document or a resume, essentially. You're not tracking. If that information were put on a website, you can track views and clicks and location and time spent on your website, time spent on a specific page, where traffic came from. You just have no way to measure the impact of something like that if you're still sending that. And then integrating video and all kinds of that. I mean, social media, you can get down to seeing how much of a 60-second video was viewed, if people are watching the whole thing or if they're just watching 3 seconds and scrolling on. Was that the example you wanted, Stacey?
Yes, thank you.
All right, awesome, guys. This is so go figure. I get 2 marketing people together and we run out of time fast.
Yes,
but it's all right. Yeah, it happens. There's a certain personality type that the business attracts. We have time. We have time for like 2. Let's see if we can hit 2 questions.
Blake asked the big 6-letter question about budget. Stacey, how do you overcome the thin margins of the industry to close the marketing sale? And do you have numbers that support the buy you can share this morning?
That's a tough one.
Next.
Yeah.
So I'll give that a quick swing just from my
Yeah.
perspective. I spend a lot of time with overall strategic plans and helping companies through, what they should and shouldn't be, budgeting for. And I'm always pressing for larger marketing budget. And what I try to help them focus on is the fact that, when you talk to candidates about why they were excited about your brand when they came in for an interview. What did you think of us before we came in? Before you came in, things along those lines. It has become measurable that it absolutely gives you a strategic advantage when it comes, to hiring. And I would wager that if you're making an investment in a rock solid, branding, overall branding strategy, right? So we're not just talking about your web presence, but an overall branding strategy. If you're making that kind of investment, it pays off because even in an employee's market, you as an employer do get the pick of the litter when you're comparing against your competition. And we can demonstrate that. Hard numbers, Blake. I don't know. But I would tell you that my clients who do it consistently never don't get the hire that they want as long as they move quickly, right? The only thing that'll kill them is if they drag out the process and somebody else is more aggressive. But if they have developed that sort of best in class kind of brand presence, they don't struggle to get the hire. And I can think of specific examples, but I probably shouldn't share company names.
I will give one add caveat to that. When you talk margins and overcoming thin margins, think of marketing not on a per project basis. You might have to invest $10, $20, $50,000 in this big deal, but depreciate that over years, because we're talking digital marketing here primarily, and digital lives forever. And so you might have a huge project and you were going to spend 30 grand up front or 30 grand this year. You don't have to spend that necessarily over. So it's not just that, distribute that margin, cut that down and into like, oh, actually it only works out to 3,000 off this project, 3,000 off this project, and 3,000 off this project. Your CFO is probably going to argue differently because he's got to cut the check up here and it feels like it's coming out of this. But that stuff needs to be looked at because your website is going to live on and on and on. So that's a way to overcome the margin part of that question.
We had a video that we created like almost 10 years ago that was still driving traffic to our website. So
wow,
just think about that.
To that point. Yep. Okay. I lied. I think we only had time for one question. I did see there. I did see one quick. I'll slide this one in. One quick mention, which was like any old school marketing you still recommend, Stacey. Any old school marketing you still recommend?
Networking, in-person networking. Yeah, you still got to do it.
And to me, that's that bridge between marketing and business development. That's, if I say, hey, actually putting yourself in a situation to have conversations with your target audience, networking, getting out and spending time in the market. I love that. Any other that you would toss on there?
Seth, you?
I'm not going to say don't do print. I know some people still do print. It's very expensive and you have to be strategic. I would say trade shows. I would say being visible at trade shows. Maybe that's not considered old school, but trade shows have been around for a while. There's very few ways to get physically. We're talking about relationships, to get physically in front of people. If you're an equipment manufacturer, if you're a supplier, if you're a precast company and there's a regional one where there's going to be a huge gathering of your industry people, go there, show your stuff, make a big investment, be strategic about it, because some trade shows are better than others and some just cost an insane amount. But again, that's essentially a big networking event like Stacey talked about. So those things are all huge. And the last thing I would say is, depending on what level, what size of company in this day of instant electronic marketing, I happen to notice road signs a lot more than I used to. I don't like election season when there's a gazillion of them, but if I'm sitting in traffic and I look over, I noticed the landscape company, the drywall hangers, because it's not sitting there flashing at me. It's a very low tech, very bland sign sitting next to me in the road. And so I would say test that theory, but I noticed them.
I can't tell you how many of my clients, when we start to have a measure of success in growing their business, things like that, that one of their biggest piece of feedback that they get from the market is, we see your signs everywhere. And it really does. Again, it's all anecdotal, but I think there is something there. So guys, I want to make sure that we wrap this thing up somewhat close to on time. Thanks so much for both of you, preparing for this, being here. Seth, you were an awesome co-host.
Thank you.
You're a fantastic, partner to have, and we'll weave you in here in the future. I'm assuming there'll be more opportunities to do that. So thank you for joining. I do want to just take a quick moment and call out that next week we have economist Anirban Basu. He's the chief economist for the Associated Builders and Contractors, and economist for many construction organizations across the country. A good friend and business partner of mine. So I look forward to speaking with him in front of everybody and getting, he talks fast. Get a notebook. You might want to take an extra sip of that caffeinated coffee. Next week will be a lot of fun. So I look forward to that. And Stacey, you rock. Do you have anything that you want to say to wrap up?
No, thank you for having me as your guest.
Well, it's back to work next week. Damn it.
I know, right?
Thanks so much again, Seth. Thanks, Stacey. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.